My name is Jason Whitesett, and my assistant and I today are going to be talking about VoiceThread a little bit. And as I will obviously prove, you don't have to be an expert at this program to make good use of it in your classroom. So let me get my assistant here. Good morning, Jason.
And good morning to you too, Jason.
I like your office there.
Thank you. I'm rather fond of books.
An apropos characteristic for an English and Humanities instructor.
Indeed.
Todd has asked you here today to discuss the use of VoiceThread in your online classes.
Is there some sort of compensation?
Sadly, no.
That's okay. I'll do it anyway.
All right, so
Why don't you begin by briefly showing everybody what exactly a VoiceThread is?
I would be happy to. How many of you guys are familiar with VoiceThread or have used it in your classes before? All right, so if you have, feel free to jump in and share anything you have. Like I said, I'm somewhat of a novice of it, but the great thing about it is it doesn't take that much to become an expert. So what is a VoiceThread?
So what is a VoiceThread? Well, it's a tool for having conversations around media. Whether it's images, videos, documents, or presentations, or any combination of them, a VoiceThread can securely capture and hold an entire group discussion on one simple page. When people make their new comments, they will fill in around the edges, and the participants can even draw while they're talking, which is a very efficient way of getting your point across. Down here, behind the comment button, are actually 5 different ways for people to comment: by telephone, by webcam, by microphone, by text, or even file upload. Which means that if you can load this page at all, you can participate in this conversation, period. Now let's take a quick look at how you get around in a VoiceThread.
And you can add comments of your own, even within their videos.
The first thing is the image itself. If you want to get a better look at it, you can click on the image to zoom in and look around. You can try this right now while I'm talking. Just click once to go in and once to get out. And while you're zoomed in, you can move your mouse around and pull the picture in any direction you want. The next thing, which is really the most important, is how to comment. The first thing you need to know is that you are always in control and you can always delete your own comment. Just click this garbage can icon that you'll see whenever your comment is playing, and then you can try it again. So don't sweat it and just say whatever's on your mind. After you've looked around at this VoiceThread and you register, click the comment button that's right down here, and you can try out all 5 different ways to comment. The last thing is how to get around in a VoiceThread. There are 2 ways to hear comments. The first is to just click on a person's face like mine over there, or you can use the controls that are beneath the type and record buttons over here. To go through all of the other pages of the voice book, you can either use the big arrows that are in each corner, or you can click on the navigator button over here. And if you click on that, we'll show you all of the pages at once, and you can then click on the one you want to go to.
As you can see here with the little baby, if you make these for your relatives, they will be astounded and amazed. Your grandma will think you're Steven Spielberg, and you can get a lot of credit, especially if they live far away. That kind of gives you a basic idea of what a VoiceThread is. You guys can get on the site yourself and look at that stuff. I want to return back to my assistant here and see what else he has to say. So, Jason, what in particular prompted you to begin using VoiceThread?
In the fall of 2011, I was scheduled to teach a world literature course online, and starting from scratch kind of liberated me to think outside the box a bit. And I was debating and thinking about how are we going to replicate the sort of great discussions you have about literature in the classroom when you don't have a classroom. The natural and easy response to that is, well, you can just use discussion board, and that tends to be what everybody does use. But a few months prior to that, I heard several students talk about how boring and artificial and just tiresome Blackboard's discussion board had become for them. And I didn't want to be in that situation. I wanted to offer my students something more dynamic, something more interesting, something that was going to grab their attention. And VoiceThread provided that opportunity. So I decided to start from scratch and incorporate this outside program that I had played with, but I had no actual idea how it was going to operate in the classroom. And fortunately, it ended up working great for several reasons, and students were able to avoid the miasma and boredom of Blackboard discussion board.
So what's so good about
The great thing
Blackboard?
about VoiceThread is that it offers a visually appealing way to interact with one another while still remaining asynchronous so that they can approach the material when they have time. As an online class, we all know that's important. And so with VoiceThread, they get to choose an avatar, so they'll have their own little identity that pops up around the side of the various pictures that we have. And this allows people to begin to recognize one another rather than just some, ugly text on a white background. They have a picture, they have an idea of who this is. And if you find yourself enjoying other individuals' comments as a student, you can jump to those people and see, well, Becky always has great things to say about this, so what does she think about Beowulf or whatever it is you're studying? So it offers some unique opportunities in that way. It also gives you, the pictures here in the middle. And it might seem like a silly thing, but having a picture to accompany whatever it is you're studying engages the students much more quickly and in an interesting way, as opposed to, like I said, just that white background. They have something, a focal point that everyone can look at, just as you would have in the classroom. And along with these other things, we also have a more sense of humanity, which sounds silly, but when you have 26 pictures of individuals around a given picture, it feels like the classroom, and that sort of replication is important. Space is important. Too often, I think, when students are at home online, they're surrounded by the same personal goods and environment that they're always in. They don't feel as if they're in a space that's conducive for learning, somewhere that's different, saying, this isn't at home, this isn't what I normally think, this is something new. I can explore new ideas and think in different fashions.
I want to jump in and add too that one of the things I was concerned about is, the typical thing for discussion board is you have students, okay, you have to post your own response and you have to respond to at least 2 other students. And that's how we attempt to create a dialogue. And students will respond and open up just 2 other threads, the minimum they have to do. And even oftentimes they won't do that. They'll only read 2. So it's not a discussion between 30 people or 22 people. It's a discussion between a group of 3, a group of 3, a group of 3, which sometimes can work. But I wanted something more than that. And VoiceThread doesn't solve that problem completely. But as you'll see when I open up my class and I go through that, it creates a visual palette. And so theoretically, you could still just pick on a couple students and listen to them and respond to them. But there's much more incentive to listen to other people. First of all, it's going to play automatically if you don't stop it. So it kind of forces itself on you, which can be a good thing in this environment. And also, students are just more likely to click on each other's faces. They become friends with one another through this, is what I've found, rather than just having a series of characters.
That's enough about the theoretical. How about you get practical and actually show them how to make a voice thread?
All right, so let's make a voice thread real quick right now. So I can show you the main page right here. This is what VoiceThread looks like, and there's not a lot of whistles and bells, which is great, because I suffer from the tyranny of choice, if any of you guys have had that similar problem. If there's 1,000 different options, I have to look at all of them and explore all of them, and I never get to what I actually want to do. Question?
Yeah, Jason, is there a time limit to how long, like, if you want to have a discussion, like each individual, is there like a 5-minute time limit? Or?
I haven't discovered that yet. I've probably prattled on for about 10 minutes or so and haven't been cut off. There are different tiers of, you can either use the free version, which allows you to have 3 different videos per email address, which is how I got around it earlier in the semester before I got an account. I wanted to play with it before I invested money in it. So you can have 3 different videos and embed those, and but there are different levels that you can purchase, and you might be able to have more space, and depending on what you're doing. But the great thing about it is you can accomplish so much with just a free account, and students don't ever have to pay anything to be able to interact and to be able to post their comments and stuff like that. It's only the creation process that you have to pay for, and even then you get 3 free ones. Yeah.
So my question is, you're running some sort of pictures in a video format or something, and people are responding to what they see.
Correct.
At whatever time they want, but you made that video, so that's you talking earlier about
Correct.
that.
Yeah. And so you get the feeling of having a conversation, but you don't have to be in the room at the same time with one another. So it's really simple to create one. As you can see, there's only 3 little options here. And upload is the first part of the process. You can upload videos, you can upload music, you can upload pictures. I tend to just keep images there. It's simpler, but you can do videos as well. The only thing is you can't snag them directly from YouTube. You have to download them first and then put them on there. So what I'd like to do is maybe grab a couple images on my computer now, and I just go over here to desktop, Todd has a whole, there he is. And it'll start to upload. Pictures usually come up really quick. Videos sometimes take a little bit longer. And then there's my first slide. You can have, I think, up to 50 or so slides on here, so you can have as many as you like. In the interest of time, I'm just going to put this one on here. But so we have Todd's face here, and the next step is to comment. So this is what the students are going to see when they pull up or when they scroll through Blackboard. They're going to see Todd's picture right here. And then I can then lecture on this or point out various things that I'd like to do. So for example, our camera's not working, but I can still record my voice. There's the 4 options down here, as you saw in the tutorial. Students can type, which is good and bad, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. They can record just their voice in response, and I can as well. You can use a webcam to record a video, which is the ideal situation, or they can even call in, so they don't have any excuses, because I know they all have cell phones, right? So in this case, I'm just going to record, and as I do, we can talk about Todd right now. And so this is what I like to call Todd's job face. And to move from Todd's job face to other forms of Todd, we can use our handy dandy little scribbler here. So we're going to move from Todd's job face to what I call Grand Canyon Todd. As you guys have probably seen him in winter sometime. And in fact, Todd's hair is more blondish, so we better get in. Click this little middle button, that'll make it permanent. So we give Todd some long hair, and of course the scraggly beard he often sports in the winter and in the canyon. And my students can see this squiggling as I go, and I could talk further about it, hopefully about something a little bit more weighty than that. When I'm done,
talk about Todd right now.
It'll give you a run-through so you can listen to it if you like.
And
sounds good. I'm going to accept it.
I'm not going to ask you any more than
I warned you ahead of time. So then you can see my little avatars popped up right there. You can have your students obviously do whatever they like. It's nice to have their actual faces, though, so that it is more like a classroom.
So what you just said is in that avatar.
Yep, and I will show. And so what will happen is this first slide, when the student clicks play, they'll see it.
We can talk about Todd right now. And so this is what I like to call Todd's job face. And to move from Todd's job face to other forms of Todd, we can use our handy dandy little scribbler here. So we're going to move from Todd's job face to what I call Grand Canyon Todd.
Students can pause it at any time they like, and it'll scroll through. And what happens when you have different students, and I'll show you guys this in just a second, is these will begin to pop up all up around the margins of this central image, and it'll play through them automatically on the bottom. We only have the one image because I'm the only person that's commented on it right now, but students will then add their own. And what makes this superior to video, I think, just doing like Camtasia or Jing or something like that, is students can then become part of the presentation themselves. It's not something static and permanent that's been put up there, but they can then engage with it. They can ask a question, and rather than all 30 students asking the same question again, the other students will see that question if it's already been raised. Yeah?
I'm wondering, when the student goes to this site and begins to view it, what comes up first is your comments on the image? That plays automatically?
Correct, and they don't need to go to the site. That's one of the great things about it. I'll show you how you can embed it in Blackboard. They'll need to go to the site at least once to register, which is a simple and painless process. Don't let them convince you otherwise. But once, it's right in Blackboard, and so they'll see it. All they have to do is click play, and it'll play through all the comments. And if they want to skip slides, if we had multiple slides, you could see down here, I could click through them, and I'd have a comment on each, kind of introducing it.
So you're saying the first time they have to go to a site and register, is that where they register their phone? Because I'm trying to figure out how the phone works if they call in.
Yeah, it gives you a, the question is how do they make the phone work? Essentially, I haven't used the phone function, but VoiceThread gives you a phone number for the specific VoiceThread. You call that number, and it'll work. Yeah,
Okay.
just like that.
I'm confused about the timing.
Okay,
Are they all doing this at the same time?
they can do it whenever they want.
So whenever they come on, there's only going to be a certain number of comments
Correct.
Based on when in that time span
Yeah.
they made their comments?
So depending on when the student accesses it is going to determine how many student responses have accumulated, just like a normal discussion board. So students might want to visit several different times in order to see what other people have said. Obviously, my comments are always going to be there because I don't post it until I've done that. Yeah.
With this, can you do more than one image, like within almost like a slideshow? Is that?
I'm not sure about that. I haven't tried to get that technical. Todd, do you have an answer to
I
that?
think yeah,
Yes, absolutely. You're going to show them in a second.
Oh, I thought you were talking
so there's more
multiple
than
images.
just the slide, and it's
Yeah.
hard to visualize with just the one here.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys the other one, and then any other questions I'll be happy to answer. It'll give you a better idea once I actually embed it. Well, and to show you how easy it is to embed, I'm going to put this one in my Blackboard shell, and then I'll show you the ones I did last fall. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is share. So I click share, and I actually don't want to do that yet. I want to go down here to publishing options, and this is going to allow you to determine. Now you're going to want, if you're doing this, you're going to want anyone to view it so your students can view it. You're going to want them to be able to comment. And you can moderate comments, but that means after every student you're going to have to go in there and approve their comments, and that can become time intensive. You put them on the honor system, it seems to work pretty well. And then if you'd like it to be accessible through the general browsing page on VoiceThread, there's potential for footsie problems if you do that, so I recommend leaving it off. So I'm going to click save. So I have that down. Now what I'd like to do is embed, and there's a big button down here at the bottom. And the embed code's right here. You don't even have to copy and paste. You just hit copy this, and it's copied. What I'm going to do now is close this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and close this too, if I can remember how here.
Use the tabs. Leave that open there.
Okay.
Just use the tabs at the top.
Yeah. I was going to save all this. OK, so that's good. Now what I want to do is go back to my voice. It's going to prompt me for a title. We'll have the many faces, even though you really only showed one, of Todd Conaway. And you can put tags, just like, yeah, that's right, more so. You can put tags on here, just like with YouTube and things like that. Saved, so now there's my VoiceThread. You can see my other VoiceThreads I've used, but I want to show you guys the version in Blackboard. So this is my World Literature class. It's the Yavapai School of Armchair Travel. Each book is actually a destination that the student travels to, and then they engage with that destination. I could talk a lot about that, but that's a different presentation. What I want to show you guys is how VoiceThread works within this. So for each destination, they had a guest book. So I'd pick a place from the novel, and that would be like their guest book. Just like if you go to the Grand Canyon, you can sign the guest book. In this case, you might go to Denmark for Beowulf, and you would sign the guest book there. Or the first week was the World Literature Classroom, kind of like the prep session before you go out in the world to do your travels. And what I'd like to do is go into here and show you guys how you can embed it real quick. So to embed a VoiceThread, it's really simple. You just go to Build Content, Simple Item. I wish this was bigger, but we'll do what we can. Give it a name, the many faces, and simply go down to the little HTML stuff. I remember the first time Todd showed me how to do this, I thought it was magic. You just Control V. It's already been put to our clipboard. And something small, I like to change the sizes so it's a little bit bigger, and you can just do that in here. Once again, it feels like you're working with magic. Change those numbers. I increase them by about 200. 680, and then the other one, 560. We got all that, and we just hit Submit. And we scroll down, and there it is.
Very cool.
And it adds visually a lot to Blackboard, which needs all the help it can get. And you can see right here, this is what the students will access, just as they'd access everything else on Blackboard. They'd scroll down, they'd see this, they hit play, and then I'd start talking to them, ideally in video.
Todd right now. And so this is what I like to call Todd's job face.
And we're going to scroll down a little bit more until we get his hair.
So we get Todd.
That's how students can access it.
Oh, where are their buttons? That comment button is their button to comment.
Correct, and it embeds right in Blackboard. There's no extra steps. Once you've registered, if you stay signed in, you just pull up Blackboard, and it's going to look like this every single time. And so students, all they have to do is click this button, and then they can start commenting themselves in one of those 4 formats. Yes,
So,
Carly?
Jason, do you do this in lieu of discussion boards then? You have no...
I do. I use discussion board anyways. I have an Ask Your Guide feature for
Okay.
whatever destination. I adopt a persona of someone in that like a local, and I tell them about it, and they can ask questions, post them there, and then I'll respond to them for things that I don't cover elsewhere.
That's so creative. I have one more question.
Yeah.
Now, do you, on discussion boards, we always have discussion forum guidelines or discussion board guidelines. Do you have a similar set of guidelines for your...
I discuss them briefly, and of course, how they earn the points or don't earn the points. But it's pretty loose, and I kind of get a feel for the class as we go.
Got it.
So let's look at one of my guidebooks. So this is from week 1. So basically, the students are introducing themselves, and this is one that's actually been used. And here's guestbook instructions. So I provide some instructions for how to register and everything this first couple weeks. But this is what it looks like when students actually start doing things.
Good day, and welcome to the Yavapai School of Armchair Travel.
That's my adventure hat.
My name is Jason Whitesett, and I will be your guide and professor throughout the semester. Let's begin with some introductions. Please let everyone know your name and where you're from.
And so students can choose to respond in whatever format they like. A lot of them chose text, which is a problem I'll talk about in a minute. But I did get a couple that chose audio for this first one.
Hello everyone, my name is Jeremiah, I'm 22 years old, and I'm from Prescott, Arizona.
Yeah. Every once in a while you get those. Are you really?
Hello everyone, my name is Molly Schoenfeld, and I was born and raised in the Prescott area. I enjoy spending time outdoors and photography.
So, and you can see and you can scroll through the different slides as the students would, or they'll play through automatically. And you can see all these little short tabs. Those are each individual student's responses, and they'll play through automatically, as I said. And the students did this throughout the semester 12 different times at different locations. Yeah?
Another question, sorry.
No.
I noticed that the text was up there, and it looked like the text of what you said was up there. Can it be where you always put the text of what people say? Like if you had a hearing a person that had a problem, they can actually see the text?
It doesn't do that for you automatically. I put the text just in case, because otherwise you get an excuse. My speakers don't work, I can't do this assignment. So I put my videos and my text following that, but most, if a student does that, I would then have to go back and transcribe that. And if you had a student with disabilities, that would be an extra hurdle you'd have to go through, but it's not impossible. So I had several of these throughout the semester. Look at one more, maybe we can go to, I mentioned Beowulf, let's look at that. So we go to the Heorot guest book. The Heorot's the mead hall in Beowulf. And there we are. You can play through.
What? Welcome to the Heorot guest book.
And then each slide, and it gives the students a focal point.
What role does treasure play in Beowulf? What's its function in this world?
And Todd said I had just a couple minutes left, so I'll wrap up and do questions.
So you can see, and I think this, Kelly, there's multiple images on there, and for every one, Jason chose to kind of introduce it in the video.
Yeah. I use it as kind of like discussion questions. For each discussion question, I have one picture, and then they can go over that together. The drawbacks that I encountered with my trial run in this class is that students will get lazy or they'll get intimidated. If nobody else is doing video, I'm not going to do video. And so it devolved into a situation where almost all of them were doing text. So when I do this again this coming fall, I'm going to provide some sort of incentive to do video. I don't think you can require it because not all students might have a webcam, but offer potentially extra credit or other different avenues to get them out there doing that. Another drawback is that you can't automatically grade it as you do in discussion board. I can't see how many posts they've done. And so I thought that was going to be more of a challenge than it actually was. Because each of them has their own avatar, after the first couple weeks, I know who these students are. They might be a lion, but I know who they are. And so I can recognize them, oh, that's Jackie, and so I can give her points. And what I did is I just made this simple little grid format for each week. I just get 4 little X's. That means they answered each question, and I could just go through here. So it's a little bit more than work than an actual discussion board post, but I think you're rewarded in spades for the effort you put out for it. Other questions?
You've got there's a lot of little extra boxes around it, which means those are the responses of the students.
Correct.
So this is one that has been done.
Yes, this is from the prior.
Can you, as the instructor, go back in and do another comment? You did your initial comment, and then do you go back in and respond to their comments? And if so, is that a new picture or is that a separate picture?
It's the same picture, which is unfortunate. It would pop up after me right here. You can, using a different email address or something like that, go in and respond to different questions in that capacity if you'd like. So I could have my initial question avatar, and then I can have another avatar that answers subsequent questions that could maybe appear over here at the end.
It gives you an option for another identity, though.
Okay, so yeah, you could do that. Yeah, and like I said, I haven't explored all of it. That's a good point, Curtis.
Well, is that all right there, or what happens if they have more? Where are the other little pictures for the other students? I mean, you may have more than just the ones that can fit on either side of the picture.
You make them smaller.
Yeah, they get smaller and smaller. Yep. Okay. And you can tell if your class didn't participate that week because other faces are bigger and looking at you. It's just like in a normal classroom. If there's nobody in there, everyone feels bigger. Other questions? Yeah.
Can the students subscribe so that when one of their friends updates, they get an email? out to them, you know, like on discussion board, you can subscribe to that forum?
Yes, you can. It's a little complicated from the student's standpoint, but I get an email whenever students pop up on here, so that's kind of nice. And you can control those options, so yeah, you basically subscribe to it.
And I have one more question. What did you do about the students who said, I couldn't log on, it was too hard, stuff like that?
I didn't have a single student say that, actually, which is amazing, because usually they're resistant.
Okay, yeah, because I stopped using other websites, because
Yeah.
it was like, it works in Firefox, but not in Chrome. And I spent all my time dealing with technology problems.
And I was concerned about that too, especially because I never ran this in a class before. I wasn't sure it was going to work. But VoiceThread, they keep it so simple and it's so broadly applicable that no student complained to me about it. And I did have I had a particularly good bunch. I'm not sure if that's because of how the class was set up or if it was just the students I got. But it's pretty easy, and I think the students are immediately attracted to it because it's so visual and it's so much better than Blackboard that they might put out a little bit more effort than they otherwise would.
And your embed always worked okay? Because I have a lot of trouble embedding things, and then later if I want to go make changes.
Yeah. I have too, and it worked perfect every time. The only thing I ever had to do was change the size as I showed you guys. Otherwise, I had never had a single problem on Blackboard. It always worked. The only possible thing is if you get signed out, it'll just be black, and it'll say you need to sign in, and then it pops up for you.
So when you course copy, do all those people's comments stay in there?
We'll find out.
And how do you know if they listen to anyone else other than you? You don't.
You can't tell, but you can encourage them to reply to other students, like to mention that student in their reply or something like that.
So when you grade it, do you listen to all of them?
I do, yeah, and it's interesting.
And do you seem to...
I got much better responses than I normally got on discussion board. I was amazed, and once again, it could just be the select group that I got, but I was amazed at how much more they invested in this process, and they wanted to talk about the literature, and they actually dug into it. All right.
Awesome.
Any more? Thank you, guys.